We announced a brand new platform for a new market we've never been in. And so that's number one. Number two, if we take advantage of this transition from general purpose computing to accelerated computing, from old types of software to AI, we can take advantage of this transition of AI and 6G for America to win back telecommunications again. It's been a long time since the American telecommunication network has been built on American technology.
You used the word national security, I believe.
For national security reasons, for economic reasons, our industry should be built on American technology, and for the very first time, we can do that. We have a brand new product line that takes advantage of computing, accelerated computing, and AI, and we have a great partner to help us do it with, Nokia.
What if the world's most powerful AI company just made a move that could quietly reshape how the internet itself works? What if, behind all the hype about chips and data centers, there's a strategy unfolding that connects artificial intelligence with the invisible infrastructure that moves information across the planet? Because that's exactly what happened when Nvidia, the trillion-dollar titan of AI, decided to invest $1 billion into Nokia, a name most people hadn't thought about in years. To the casual observer, it looked random. Nokia, the company that made those indestructible brick phones from the early 2000s? The brand that vanished when smartphones took over? Why would Nvidia, one of the most advanced technology companies in history, pour $1 billion into that? But as it turns out, this wasn't just a business deal. It was a calculated move, one that could give Nvidia access to something far more powerful than hardware, the global nervous system of the digital world. And for decades, Nokia was a symbol of reliability. Their phones didn't just sell, they defined an era. They were tough, simple, and everywhere. But after Apple and Android changed the rules, Nokia's empire crumbled almost overnight. Most people assumed it was finished. But in reality, Nokia was rebuilding quietly. It sold off its phone division and reinvented itself as a networking powerhouse, building the infrastructure that carries billions of gigabytes of data every second. From 5G base stations to cloud backbones, Nokia became one of the few companies that quite literally keeps the world connected. And that's the part almost no one noticed, until Nvidia did. You see, Nvidia has a different kind of power. It doesn't run networks, it builds the brains behind them. Its chips power the AI systems that run your apps, your smart devices, your cars, even the software you're using right now. In the AI age, Nvidia's hardware is the engine of innovation. But here's the catch. The more advanced AI becomes, the more it needs to move. Data must flow at lightning speed between devices, servers, and the cloud. AI can't function without fast, reliable networks, and those networks are still built by companies like Nokia. So maybe Nvidia's billion-dollar investment wasn't random after all. Maybe it was strategic, a move to merge intelligence with infrastructure. Because if Nvidia controls the brain of AI and Nokia controls the nervous system, together they could redefine what global...
When the news broke in late 2025, it sent shockwaves through both the tech and financial worlds. Nvidia announced that it would invest roughly $1 billion in Nokia through a directed share issuance, about 166 million shares, giving Nvidia around a 2.9% stake in the Finnish giant. It wasn't the size of the deal that caught attention, it was what it meant. The two companies also revealed a strategic partnership focused on something called AI RAN, Artificial Intelligence Radio Access Networks. If that sounds complicated, it's because it is. But the core idea is simple. They want to build smart networks, communication systems that can learn, adapt, and optimize themselves in real time. Think of it like this. Today's networks are highways. Data travels along them, but the routes don't change much. An AI-powered network, on the other hand, would constantly reconfigure itself for speed, efficiency, and demand, predicting traffic before it happens. And Nvidia's AI capabilities, combined with Nokia's deep knowledge of telecom infrastructure, could make that happen. For Nokia, this partnership represents a rebirth, a way to position itself at the center of the AI revolution instead of watching from the sidelines. For Nvidia, it's a way to extend its reach beyond chips and servers, into the infrastructure that connects them all. It's not just about who builds AI anymore. It's about who controls where AI lives. After the announcement, Nokia's stock exploded, up nearly 20% overnight, the biggest single-day jump the company had seen in a decade. Investors weren't just reacting to the money, they were reacting to the symbolism. Nvidia, the most valuable chip maker in history, had just validated Nokia's transformation. But while headlines focused on the numbers, few realized how deep this story goes. This isn't just a collaboration between two tech firms. It's a signal of how the AI economy is evolving. Because as artificial intelligence becomes more integrated into every device, every vehicle, every city, control over the networks that carry AI data could become even more valuable than the AI itself. That's what makes this deal so intriguing. It's not just a comeback story for Nokia, it's a glimpse into the next technological frontier, where intelligence and connectivity.
Most people think of AI as software, something that lives inside code or runs on powerful GPUs. But Nvidia's move suggests a different vision, one where AI doesn't just think, it communicates. It doesn't just process, it flows. And if that vision comes true, the entire world's communication backbone will need to evolve to keep up. Nokia's technology, experience, and infrastructure might just make it possible. So while everyone else is focused on AI's latest chatbot or breakthrough model, Nvidia and Nokia are quietly working on something much larger, the infrastructure that will power all of it. And maybe that's why Nvidia's $1 billion investment isn't about rescuing an old company at all. Maybe it's about building the foundation of the next era of the internet. Because in the race for AI dominance, the future won't just belong to whoever makes the smartest machines. It'll belong to whoever controls the systems those machines depend on. Before Nvidia ever showed interest, before billion-dollar deals and AI-powered ambitions, Nokia's name was practically forgotten. But there was a time when it ruled the world. Not just in Finland, not just in Europe, but everywhere. In the early 2000s, Nokia wasn't just a phone company, it was the face of technology itself. Nearly half of all mobile phones on Earth carried the Nokia logo. Its iconic ringtone echoed from street corners, buses, and living rooms in every country. Nokia was more than a brand, it was a global habit. Reliable, durable, and affordable. A Nokia phone could survive anything. People joked you could drop it off a building and it would still work. And honestly, they weren't wrong. But success breeds comfort. And comfort, in the tech world, is the beginning of the end. While Nokia dominated hardware, a quiet revolution was happening elsewhere, in software. Companies like Apple and Google weren't trying to make better phones, they were trying to make them smarter ones. In 2007, Steve Jobs walked on stage with a device that would change everything. The iPhone. It wasn't just sleek, it was alive. Apps, touchscreens, and a connected ecosystem turned phones from tools into digital lifestyles. Nokia, confident in its empire, laughed it off. Their executives believed customers wanted practicality, not luxury. After all, who would spend hundreds of dollars on a fragile device with no physical buttons? The answer came quickly. Everyone. Within a few years, Nokia's dominance evaporated. The company that once sold hundreds of millions of phones annually was now losing ground to Apple, Samsung, and a wave of Android manufacturers. By 2012, its market share had collapsed to single digits. The fall was brutal and almost personal. Engineers who had spent decades building the world's most reliable hardware watched helplessly as the smartphone era erased everything they'd created. Nokia's internal culture, once proud and pioneering, grew paralyzed by bureaucracy. Too many decisions, too little innovation. By the time they realized what was happening, it was already too late. In 2014, Nokia made the painful choice to sell its entire mobile phone business to Microsoft for over $7 billion. For many, it felt like the end of an era. But here's what most people missed. Nokia didn't die. It moved on. Because behind the scenes, Nokia still owns something incredibly valuable: its telecommunications division, the part of the company that built cell towers, routers, and the invisible systems that made phone calls, texts, and internet connections possible. While the world focused on flashy smartphones, Nokia quietly focused on something much larger, the infrastructure of the internet itself. The company started rebuilding its identity brick by brick, or rather, signal by signal. It began leading projects in 4G and later 5G networks, competing with giants like Ericsson and Huawei. It bought Alcatel-Lucent, another telecom veteran, giving it a global footprint that stretched from Europe to the US to Asia. This wasn't just survival, it was transformation. Nokia was no longer about what you held in your hand, it was about what made that device work. While Apple and Samsung fought over who sold the most phones, Nokia was busy building the systems that connected them all. And in a world obsessed with the next gadget, Nokia's pivot looked almost boring, until the rise of artificial intelligence changed everything. Because suddenly, the infrastructure Nokia built wasn't just carrying human data, it was carrying machine data. Self-driving cars, smart cities, cloud-based AI systems, all of them depended on ultra-fast, low-latency networks. The same invisible highways Nokia had been perfecting for a decade were now becoming the lifelines of AI. And for the first time in years, Nokia's slow, steady transformation started to look like genius. When Nvidia looked at Nokia, it didn't see a fallen phone company. It saw a sleeping giant, one that already controlled a massive share of the world's communication backbone. In a way, Nokia had done what very few companies ever managed to do. It reinvented itself from the ground up, right under everyone's noses. Its brand may have faded from consumer memory, but in the halls of telecom networks and AI infrastructure, Nokia was quietly setting the stage for a new kind of relevance. So when Nvidia came calling in 2025, it wasn't rescuing a relic, it was aligning with a power player in disguise. But what's fascinating isn't just that Nokia survived, it's how. Because that reinvention wasn't glamorous. It was technical, slow, and painfully strategic. In an age where tech companies chase headlines, Nokia played the long game. It focused on building partnerships with carriers, governments, and enterprises rather than chasing consumers. It bet everything on a future most people couldn't even see yet. A world where machines talk to each other, not people. And that's the world we're entering now. As AI systems grow more complex, the need for network intelligence, systems that can handle, prioritize, and optimize data traffic in real time is exploding. That's exactly what Nokia specializes in. So when Nvidia made its billion-dollar move, it wasn't just buying stock, it was buying access to the infrastructure of the AI age. And that's what makes Nokia's comeback so incredible. It didn't chase the trends, it built the foundation beneath them.
A company once known for phones is now one of the architects of the connected future. But Nvidia's involvement took that story to an entirely new level. Because if Nokia could rebuild its empire from the ashes, imagine what it could become with the backing and brainpower of the world's leading AI company. And as it turns out, Nvidia didn't just see potential, it saw synergy. Because what Nvidia wanted wasn't just faster networks, it wanted smarter ones. And that's where Nokia's quiet, calculated rebirth meets the most powerful force in tech today: artificial intelligence. But how exactly does AI fit into the picture? And why would Nvidia, a company obsessed with GPUs and data centers, care about telecom networks? That's where things start to get interesting. By 2025, Nvidia wasn't just a chip maker anymore. It had become the heartbeat of artificial intelligence. Every major AI breakthrough, from ChatGPT to autonomous driving systems, ran on Nvidia's hardware. Its GPUs had become the new gold, powering everything from server farms to gaming consoles. But Nvidia's leadership wasn't satisfied. They knew hardware dominance wouldn't last forever. Chips could be copied, competitors could rise, and new architectures could emerge. The real prize wasn't in processing AI, it was in powering the entire AI ecosystem. And that's where networks came in. To understand NVIDIA's strategy, you have to look beyond GPUs. The company has been quietly positioning itself to control the full AI pipeline, from data creation to processing to distribution. In simple terms, NVIDIA doesn't just want to be the brain of AI, it wants to be the nervous system too. The problem? AI needs bandwidths like lungs need air. Every algorithm, every model, every machine learning system depends on massive amounts of data moving between sensors, servers, and users in real time. And that requires ultra-fast adaptive networks, something NVIDIA couldn't build alone. That's why Nokia mattered. When NVIDIA looked at the global telecom landscape, it saw chaos, fragmented infrastructure, competing standards, and legacy systems not built for the AI era. But in that mess, it saw opportunity. By aligning with Nokia, a company embedded in global network infrastructure, NVIDIA could begin to embed its AI directly into the backbone of the internet itself. Imagine a future where the routers, towers, and base stations that connect your phone aren't just dumb machines. They think, they adapt, they predict traffic, reroute data, optimize latency, all autonomously, powered by NVIDIA's AI and Nokia's hardware executing them. This shift could transform the telecom industry. For decades, networks have been reactive, responding to demand after the fact. AI networks, however, would be proactive, anticipating it. To NVIDIA, this wasn't just a side project. It was part of a grander vision called the AI Internet, a connected ecosystem where data moves intelligently with minimal delay, enabling new frontiers like real-time translation, autonomous transport, remote robotics, and AI-driven cities. That's why the Nokia deal was never about profit margins or stock value. It was about territory. NVIDIA was expanding beyond data centers and into the very infrastructure that defines how those data centers communicate. If NVIDIA controlled the intelligence layer of global communication networks, it could effectively shape how the entire AI world operates. And here's the kicker. This isn't theoretical. NVIDIA has been quietly testing its networking ambitions for years. With acquisitions like Mellanox for high-speed data transfer and Cumulus Networks for software-defined networking, NVIDIA has been constructing an empire that fuses AI with data flow. The Nokia investment completes that empire. Together, they can create something no single telecom or chipmaker has ever done before, a fully AI-integrated communication ecosystem. And while most of the world sees this as a financial collaboration, those who understand tech see something deeper. The early stages of a new kind of internet, one that thinks for itself. But NVIDIA's expansion into telecom isn't just about technology, it's also about control. Because whoever controls the networks controls the data. And whoever controls the data, well, controls the future of AI. The NVIDIA-Nokia partnership didn't just spark curiosity, it sparked concern. Governments, competitors, and analysts started asking a simple but uneasy question. If NVIDIA embeds its AI into global telecom networks, what happens to data sovereignty? In other words, who owns the intelligence inside the infrastructure? For decades, telecom networks were neutral. They carried data without knowing or caring what that data was. But AI networks are different. They analyze, predict, and decide. That means they process sensitive information in real time, potentially giving NVIDIA unprecedented insight into how data moves around the world. In an era already tense with debates about digital privacy and AI ethics, the thought of one company having both AI dominance and network intelligence is unsettling. Some experts compared it to Google's early control over search data, multiplied by 1,000. If NVIDIA could read the world's digital pulse, it wouldn't just lead the AI revolution, it could govern it. But others argue this level of integration is inevitable. AI doesn't thrive in silos, it thrives in systems. The world is heading toward hyperconnectivity. Cars talking to traffic lights, factories communicating with energy grids, AI-driven logistics predicting global supply shifts.
These systems can't function without networks smart enough to handle trillions of real-time decisions. So while NVIDIA's ambitions raise eyebrows, they also represent the next logical step in technological evolution. Yet, geopolitics complicates everything. Nokia operates across Europe, the US, and Asia, regions with strict and often conflicting rules on data. By aligning with a US-based AI giant, Nokia could find itself caught between global interests, especially as countries race to secure their own AI infrastructure. Behind closed doors, policymakers are already discussing how much influence NVIDIA could gain over future digital ecosystems. After all, whoever builds the AI highways decides who gets fast lanes and who's left in the slow lane. That's why some analysts believe this partnership could eventually trigger AI infrastructure regulations, similar to how the internet itself was once regulated. Because the truth is, NVIDIA's $1 billion investment wasn't just about building better networks. It was about embedding AI into the world's nervous system. And that means every message, every transaction, every piece of digital information could, in theory, pass through AI-enhanced systems that NVIDIA helped create. The question isn't whether that's powerful, the question is, should anyone have that much power? For Nokia, this partnership was nothing short of resurrection. After years of being seen as a relic, the company suddenly found itself at the center of the most important technological evolution since the internet itself. Investors returned, engineers who once left for Apple or Google came back, and Nokia's leadership, after years of slow recovery, finally had a story that inspired excitement again. NVIDIA's investment didn't just provide capital, it gave credibility. The world now viewed Nokia not as a legacy telecom brand, but as a critical player in the AI infrastructure race. Internally, Nokia began restructuring, pouring resources into AI-RAN research and next-generation network solutions. Its goal? To make telecom systems that don't just deliver data, but understand it. In Finland, where Nokia remains a source of national pride, the investment was hailed as a new era. For a company that had once defined global communication, the chance to do it again with AI felt poetic. And for NVIDIA, that poetic comeback wasn't nostalgia, it was strategy. Because in this partnership, both sides get what they want. Nokia gains relevance, innovation, and capital. NVIDIA gains access to infrastructure, spectrum technology, and global network relationships. Together, they become something neither could be alone, a hybrid tech giant spanning both the digital and physical layers of AI. And that's where the story takes a surprising turn, because as the AI-RAN initiative expands, NVIDIA and Nokia's partnership could threaten the dominance of traditional telecom players like Ericsson, Huawei, and even Amazon's edge services. As NVIDIA and Nokia pushed forward, the rest of the tech world started paying attention and panicking. Companies like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon had been building AI ecosystems for years, but they were all limited by one thing: dependency on networks they didn't control. NVIDIA's move changed that equation. By merging intelligence with infrastructure, it was closing the loop, creating an ecosystem that could self-sustain, self-improve, and self-expand. Suddenly, the battle for AI dominance wasn't about who had the best models. It was about who controlled the roads those models traveled on. That's when rivals began making countermoves. Microsoft deepened its collaboration with Ericsson. Amazon accelerated its satellite network project, Cooper. And Google quietly started investing in edge AI infrastructure through its Cloud TPU initiative. The AI arms race had a new front: the physical layer. Because in the age of AI, the ultimate advantage isn't just smarter algorithms, it's faster, smarter infrastructure. And that's exactly what NVIDIA and Nokia were building. Section 7, the future. A world run by smart networks. Fast forward a few years, and the implications become almost surreal. Imagine a world where your phone call, your car's navigation, your energy grid, all run through AI-powered networks that anticipate needs before you notice them.
where city infrastructure adjusts itself in real time, rerouting power or traffic autonomously, where global communication becomes predictive, efficient, and almost invisible. That's the world Nvidia and Nokia are trying to create. It's a future where the line between hardware, software, and infrastructure disappears. A world where the network itself thinks. And as this technology matures, the companies behind it won't just build systems, they'll build dependencies. The world will rely on them not just for data, but for intelligence itself. When Nvidia invested $1 billion in Nokia, most people thought it was a headline that would fade in a week. But it wasn't just another deal. It was a turning point. A moment when the center of power in the tech world began to shift from apps, devices, and software to the invisible architecture that connects them all. For Nokia, it's redemption. For Nvidia, it's domination. But for the rest of the world, it's something bigger. The birth of a new kind of internet, one that doesn't just connect us, but understands us. And maybe, in time, this partnership will be remembered not as a billion-dollar bet, but as the day the world's network learned to think.
What if the world's most powerful AI company just made a move that could quietly reshape how the internet itself works? What if, behind all the hype about chips and data centers, there's a strategy unfolding that connects artificial intelligence with the invisible infrastructure that moves information across the planet? Because that's exactly what happened when Nvidia, the trillion-dollar titan of AI, decided to invest $1 billion into Nokia, a name most people hadn't thought about in years. To the casual observer, it looked random. Nokia, the company that made those indestructible brick phones from the early 2000s? The brand that vanished when smartphones took over? Why would Nvidia, one of the most advanced technology companies in history, pour $1 billion into that? But as it turns out, this wasn't just a business deal. It was a calculated move, one that could give Nvidia access to something far more powerful than hardware.